How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Boylai Hobby Time. Today I'm going to be assembling this diorama kit. It's a Viking weapons merchant from TofersMiniatures. Topher and his family are fans of the channel and have a whole line of historical minis. They asked if they could send me one as a gift to build on the channel, and I thought that sounded like fun. As I broke into the set, I found that although they are clearly from a different culture and time in history, there are some feelings that transcend time and space. One of those universal realities is buying things from a salesman. I'll have a little fun and step inside the mind of each of these characters a little later in the video. Once I had everything out of the packaging, I laid it out to see what I was working with. We've got the merchant stand, the merchant, the guy buying a weapon, and his wingman. And that guy must have been locking his knees. This isn't just an action figure playset. We are going to be making this into a full diorama, so I needed to cut a base down to size that I could glue everything to, and of course, I broke out some XPS foam for that. And don't worry, I take more care in my hand positioning when I work with woodworking tools than I do with foam. Once I had my piece of foam correctly sized and cut out, I got more of a concrete placement for all of the individual elements of the diorama. And once again, this gentleman must have been locking his knees. At this point, everything is looking pretty good, but I did feel like the back of the booth was a little empty. So I decided to make a scale-appropriate crate, which could double as a display for all of the extra weapons that came with the kit. I decided I might as well just copy the size of the table. I thought about making it from balsa wood at first, but something that sounded even more fun was to, at least for today, make it from XPS foam. I've seen a lot of people make scale wooden items from XPS foam, and I've done that a couple times, but not often enough. So I wanted to use this opportunity to give it a go. Once the foam had been cut down into thinner pieces, I used a mechanical pencil to carve the grooves and lightly etch in a wood grain texture as well. I did the same thing on some long, thin strips of foam, which I cut down to size and glued together with two large flat panels. Split the top piece so that it looked like there were two doors that could be opened independently, and then I glued all the extra weapons on top. After that, I marked the position of the table legs and the people's feet and pretty much anything that was touching the ground. That way I could remove it all and know where to put the earth texture and grass without it interfering with how everything sat on the base later on. After adding some variation to the surface with a butane torch, I grabbed some Vallejo mud effects, which I spread around with a palette knife. While that was still wet, I stomped the feet of the minis through the mud, not to make it look like super thick mud, but well walked on dirt. I then glued down the crate and followed that with some static tack and some static grass. The reason for not waiting till the mud had dried to add the grass was because I wanted to be able to push the grass down into the mud as though it had been trampled, rather than just having a clear distinction between well-trod and not trod sod. I used a palette knife again to do that. Off camera, I made a little stool, and that was the last of the elements of the diorama done and ready to be painted. I removed all of the pieces and then used super glue on the figure's feet to get them securely on some painting handles. Then I broke out an airbrush and began priming everything black. Priming black is to ensure that all of the deepest shadows and recesses are as dark as possible. After the black primer, I switched to a rusty red primer over top from above. This will be a good starting point for all of the skin and a nice warm undertone for everything else. I followed the rusty red with a blue ink on the lower areas to give some life to those shadows, and then I finally gave everything its primary midtone. I get asked very often, in almost every video actually, why I choose to prime everything black when it already looks fine. Usually that's asked in relation to things that already have color, like kit-bashed pieces that have a lot of like wood or metal details, or landscapes. And my answer is a little different every time, but typically it's because I think that if one of the parts of the scene is going to be painted, I just think it looks better if the whole thing is painted as well. That way all of the lighting will be consistent At least that's my thought process. You're welcome to disagree, and let me know in the comments. After the base colors and midtones had been established with the airbrush, I broke out the wet palette and it was time for the brushwork. And like I said at the beginning of the video, all of these gentlemen and their poses appear to be very relatable to me. So I'm going to be explaining a little bit more of their mindset for your entertainment. This guy right here is not currently the one looking to buy a new weapon, but he kind of wishes he was, but his wife won't let him. He's channeling the jealousy that he feels toward his friend into disapproval of everything that the merchant has to offer. In his mind, it's better to come across as the picky expert than the selfish friend. He thinks that if he stands by his friend and says, "Oh, everything here is garbage," "Oh, I wouldn't buy that," he may be able to prevent his friend from walking away with a shiny new sword. After all, what's wrong with your old sword? It's the same one I have. Remember, we bought it back in Oslo? Do you think you're better than me for wanting to upgrade? Now, he's not going to say that out loud, but it's the classic case of if it costs more than mine, it's overpriced vanity, and if it costs less than mine, it's a piece of junk. You can see the jealousy written all over his face. He's not really the type of friend you want to go shopping with, or sailing around pillaging with either, for that matter. The next guy I painted was the merchant, and he's definitely a little greasy. Maybe a little amber greasy, you could say. This gentleman's stuff is the best stuff. It's the best stuff you can find anywhere, for that matter, especially for these prices. These are ridiculous prices, and if you don't buy it now, you'll never get such a great deal on these rare and limited items ever again. In fact, I know of at least 3 people who just ran to grab their coin pouches who will be back any minute now. There's no guarantee these will be here by the end of the day. And if you walk away without purchasing that sword, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. I'm actually thinking about you here. I'm not thinking about myself. It's not about the money. It's about giving you what you need. What kind of sword did you say you currently have? Oh, yeah, those are really falling out of popularity right now. This one right here has some cool features I bet you didn't even know you needed. But only cool people buy these swords, so if you're not cool, please don't buy it. And speaking of cool, your friends here would look a lot cooler with one of these nice helmets on. The third guy I painted is the one who's currently in the market for a new weapon. He's gained a lot of muscle since his last sword purchase, and he wants one with a little more weight behind it. During a recent village raid, he tauntingly threw his sword to a monk who was not defending himself. The monk picked up the sword, and before handing it back, he made a joke about how lightweight and feminine it was. Everyone in the crowd got a big kick out of the comment, and he laughed it off at the time, but it stuck with him, and he couldn't help feeling a little self-conscious whenever he pulled out his sword in battle ever since. He may or may not need a new sword, but the buying decision is 100% emotional. The last guy is genuinely suspicious of the salesman. He likes to think that he has a good intuition for people's honesty, and he's not impressed with this merchant. He's probably overly cautious, because one time he got ripped off by a guy selling pendants. He purchased one that was supposed to protect him from wild animals, and only 3 days later he got bit by a seal. It was actually the first animal he encountered after buying the pendant. So ever since then he's had a bad taste in his mouth for merchants. With the figures painted, it was time to wrap up the details on the setting, starting with the table full of weapons and helmets. After painting the highlights on the wood grain, the weapons, and the helmets, I got the table in a place I was happy with, and I moved on to the shield. The non-metallic metal on the shield got a little bit more development than that on the weapons. For some reason, I find it a lot easier to understand how light works on a round thing than a long thing. But I'm working on it. After that, the barrel got some nice rusty hoops and some highlights on the grain, primarily on the top. And I haven't painted too many barrels in my day, but I'm really happy with this one. Finally, I hit the canvas canopy with some highlights along the raised and tightened areas, which I then blended in using the airbrush. I painted the back table off camera, and everything was almost ready to be assembled. I temporarily put the canopy in place and dry brushed a yellow-green over all the grass that would have been exposed to the sunlight. After that, everything was ready to be glued in place. While this may not have been as wild or outrageous as many of my projects, or included something unexpected, like an alien or a chupacabra, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed working in this larger scale. Painting all of these things was a lot of fun. And like I said at the beginning, this was a gift from TofersMiniatures. He sent it to me as a gift, and I built it because it looked like fun. So if you want to check out more of his stuff, his website will be below. You should go check that out when you're done here. The last thing to do was to paint the sides of the diorama with black 3.0. I ran out of 4.0 and just haven't gotten around to ordering more. But once the sides of the diorama had been painted black, I called it good. That is it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Huge shout out as always to my patrons. You guys are the best. Have an awesome week, everyone. I'll see you next time.